Hi, I'm Boyd, and this is the Freedom Habit, where we help you break patterns that keep holding you back and build a life that you feel you don't need to escape from. Today, I'm going to talk about the habit of thoughts. Thoughts aren't repeated because they're true, they're repeated because we have practiced them over and over again for years, sometimes decades. We were told something when we were young and we believe it's true and we just run that thought through, or whenever something happens and triggers us, we think, oh, that's because of this, that's because this is how I am, or that's how life is. And we practice these thoughts and we practice these thoughts until they become assumptions about ourselves, about the world that we live in, and then they eventually actually become our identity. We start identifying so strongly with these thoughts that we think that's who we are. I see that on YouTube, or I'm sorry, Facebook a lot with my friends. That's just who I am. That's just how I am. I see people say that because they've been living that way, and we're all guilty of it. I'm sure I still have things like that. I know I do. But, once we become aware of those thoughts and realize that they're just these repeating patterns and these that aren't true, just because we've been thinking it for 40 years does not make it true about us or about how the world works or about how people are or what people should do or shouldn't do. We just judge things and we think it's true, and it's all based off of these old thoughts and old practices that we have been going through nonstop for decades at times. The good news is as we become aware of these thoughts, they weaken because when we watch them instead of feel like they're part of us, we become the observer. And as the observer, we're watching something from a distance. So we know it's not us. That's not us. So the real us is the observer looking at these thoughts and then not judging them, just looking at them and going, is that true? Have I just been thinking this for so long that it's just there and it just feels like my identity at this. And as we do this, without judgment, we can watch these thoughts and they'll just pass on by. They'll dissipate and go away, just like a cloud in the sky. And another cloud will come along. Or maybe the sky will be a clear blue sky for a few hours, Because we are the sky and the clouds are the thoughts, or the storms, or the rain, or whatever, depending on how heavy these emotions feel. And the less we fight against them, the weaker they get. And as they get weaker and weaker, they just become a distant memory. We turn down the volume on them, and they're just a quiet little thing that pops up once in a while, but it's easy to ignore. We don't have to keep believing it anymore. Oh yeah, I used to think that. That's right, I used to believe that. But that's not you anymore. But you still might remember that old you, that old identity, but that is not you, and you know it. And here's the really great news. The observer is the I am. The observer is God living in each and every one of us. The presence of God living in us and experiencing life through us as individuals. And we have God working through us and with us and in us at all times. If that's not good news, I don't know what is. So if you're ready to become the observer and stop letting your thoughts run your life, write observer in the comments and claim it. And here's a little warning. As you do these practices of watching your thoughts go by and not judging them, you're going to get a little ego talking. It's going to be like, this is true. the old man, the old you, the old part of you that wants to hold on to this, because we don't want to give that up. The ego wants to be right more than anything. The ego would rather kill you and be right than for it to be out of control, because it's been running the show of our lives for so long that it really gets annoyed and it starts throwing ideas in your mind and throwing thoughts in your mind and uncomfortable feelings. You might even get body pains from it. It will do almost anything to try to stay in control. But you know it's not that powerful. You just keep ignoring it. You know what else you can do? You can talk to it in the third person. You know, my name's Boyd, so I'll be talking to my ego. Say I'm meditating, or I'm visualizing, or I'm just watching my thoughts during the day, and it starts arguing with me. That's not true. You know that's not true. You keep doing this, you got a problem, man. You gotta change this. What's wrong with you? You've always been like this. And you can go, listen, Boyd, I'll tell you what, I appreciate you trying to keep me safe, because that's what the ego does try to do. It thinks it's keeping you safe because it's keeping you in the familiar. It keeps you trapped in the familiar because it's afraid of the unknown. But you tell Boyd that everything's all right. Thank you for warning me. Thank you for trying to watch out for me. But we got this. I got this. You're safe. And everything's working out perfectly. We can trust God. We can trust in the unknown. We can trust in our lives turning out in a beautiful way without worrying about every little detail. Keep choosing freedom. I'm believing the best for you.